All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and change these fuel injectors real quick. So we got the new ones in. They are right here, if you can see those or not. And I'm looking here to see. Yeah, so they have O-ring on top. Then they have like a hard washer underneath of them. Then they have I don't know what it is, like a hard washer on the bottom where it goes into the intake manifold. So first thing we're gonna do is flip this thing over, and we're gonna spill gas all over the workbench because that's how we roll. Then we're gonna go ahead and pull these two holding screws out that hold the rail onto the manifold. Something like that. And then let me take this. Tell you what, the rubber mats on the workbenches actually work out really good. You see what's happening here? So this is number one. It's just dripping out of the injector. It's just stuck open. You can see that or not. So let's grab this. I don't know what this even is. What is this? Colorful Life. Oh, that's my printer cartridges. Let's use that as a backdrop here to prop that bad boy up. Now, since we got that out, it's all loose. Let's go ahead and remember, right? These just pop out. I'll grab a screwdriver. So we just went in and took the line off. It doesn't look like the line would be holding anything back, but it is slightly. We just need to get this up just a little bit. Pretty much there. I think we might have an issue with this. So let's go ahead and pull this Phillips out. Put that right there. There it is. And it kind of snaps in the intake manifold like so. So right there's the injector reel, everything. And this number one fuel injector is just dripping out. Look at that. That's not supposed to be doing that at all. So it's definitely what's going on here. So let's go ahead and pull these out. They're fairly hard to get out. Using a pair of needle nose. We'll slip up in here behind here and just kind of do a little bit of that. Come on. Pull them out like that. Remember the orientation of all these too. We're going to have to clean all these out. We're going to clean the intake manifold out and get all that crap out of there. Because if we don't, it's not going to seal right. Got some pretty good O-rings on them. Here's number one. It's just like, well, it's empty now, but leaking out everywhere. You can see how nasty that one is. So do that off. These should just pull off just like that. That holds it down like so. So let's clean everything up here. We'll be right back. Okay, so we just popped them out of there. Kind of a struggle to get them out. The new ones, all we did here was take the little bail off the old one, put it back on the new one, the same orientation. We have a little bit of non-silicone, non-petroleum lubrication here. Put a little bit on there for right now. We're going to push it back in there. Now eventually we're going to put a little bit on here and clean out the head where these go into the head. So let's go ahead and just pop these back in. Something like that. The same thing with the next one. We got enough grease. Whoop, whoop, whoop. See? A little bit ahead of yourself. These are kind of weird injectors. Usually direct injection injectors are huge. Like I was telling the guy in the comments, you have to code on all the BMW stuff. You have to code in the injectors. It's not just a swap and go type deal at all. And these are set up almost more like a standard fuel injector, to be totally honest, other than going underneath the intake. Everything's orientated, the plug's facing the correct way. And that's the whole install. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to reinstall our 2 screws, or 3 screws, our 2 T30s and our 1 Phillips right here. Set that all back on the intake. Then we're going to jump over to the car and clean that up. We're ready to reinstall. Okay, so all we've done here is bolt the intake manifold back on. Now, what we had to do is we had to go down, make sure the audio is working, had to go down, wiggle it in place, because you have a bolt in the front, 1 stud in the front, 1 stud in the back. You have to line up, and you have to line up all 4 fuel injectors all at the same time. So it's 6 things. Got a hole in my glove. We got 6 things we had to line up. So we finally got it. You could shuffle it around, and it pushes down, and you're about 1/4 of an inch off the cylinder head. All I did was come in here. I tried to tap my hand. I couldn't quite get it with my hand. Took the rubber mallet, just about that hard. And you can see with every tap, it just shuffled down, went right down in there. And seated right down against it. So we put all of our T30s back in. We put our nuts on our 2 10mm studs. That's where we're at right now. So before you go any further, you have to put the bracket back on. You have to hook it over the stud on top. You have to put the M10 bolt in the bottom. We have that. We just got to tighten it up. Once that's on, you need to look back down here, plug anything in that you're not going to be able to get to once you put the throttle body on. Then the next thing is going to be put the throttle body on with those 4 bolts. That's all pretty easy. Made a little bit more difficult with these hard pipes, aftermarket hard pipes for the intercooler, because it's harder to manipulate around. Not that bad overall. Once we do that, to be totally honest, we'll go through. There's a couple little screws that hold the wires up, just kind of tidy everything up. At that point in time, we're going to put the spark plugs in, the coil packs in, plug those in. We're going to probably change the oil at that point since we're already on the lift, and that's it. So let's get to that. We'll be right back. Okay, that's where we're at. Had a few setbacks, you might say. We got 4 of the spark plugs from AutoZone IX Iranian plugs. You can see if that's focused or not, who knows. So we get all the way back here. AutoZone's about, I would say, 25-30 miles from my house. Get all the way back here, it's got 3 in the box instead of 4. Sweet, huh? So we had to put one of the auto lights back in. We put it back in number 1, which we should put it in number 2, I guess. What we're going to do now, we changed the oil, we already did all that. Everything's all plugged up. We're going to go ahead and start it. Again, we started up on the lift. Everything's like it was good. We're going to start it, we're going to pull it out of the shop, and we're going to just let it run and cook all that nonsense off of it. All right, so we're just going to run the codes, the evap system, purge control, misfire. These are old codes. Let's go ahead and erase. Yes. Done. See anything pending? Evap is still pending. I need to make sure we plug that back in. So let's do that right now, I guess. All right, so there's some asshole forgot to plug back in the purge valve, so we'll go ahead and everything. Everything's clear. It's running perfectly smooth. It's a little bit ticky sounding. We drained out what seemed to be several gallons of gas / oil out of the engine. I don't know how much overfull that was, but it took probably a good 5 minutes to drain it out, and it was water thin with fuel in it. That was a lot. So a little bit, not ticky sounding, a little bit valve train sound. It's probably going to be like that for a little while. Hopefully it comes out of it. Maybe it was like that before, I don't know. All right, so everything seems to be doing fine on the car. One thing we didn't do is change the serpentine belt. It was looking a little raggedy. Should have done that one was on the lift probably. So we'll have to investigate into that. We're gonna let it sit there and smoke and cook off all that nonsense. We'll check and make sure nothing's leaking at all though. Then we'll go take it for a run. But it looks like everything is totally fixed. The fuel injectors were the problem. And that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Be back another one very soon.